time in the Sartorial kitchen, and we are baking today, kicking things off with my rich chocolate fudge. Then we're adding a bit of texture with my buttery cashew brittle. Next, I'm bringing in those holiday red and greens with my white chocolate bark, with pistachios and cran raisins. And lastly, it's my luscious white hot chocolate. So why don't you pull up a chair and dine with me?
Guys, it is the holiday season, one of my favorite times of year. And one thing I love about Christmas time is all the wonderful little different treats and baked goods. So today, I'm going to be showing you some simple baking recipes for the holidays. So we're starting with my chocolate fudge, and for that, it's a really simple recipe. You just need a box of semi-sweet chocolate chips. You can use any kind of chips you like. You want to use like dark chocolate or something like that, that'd be fine too. But I like this semi-sweet. And then to that, we're going to add a container of sweetened condensed milk. Just the small container. And that is going to just go right on top. Make sure you get all of that out of there. Nice. I feel like Christmas time is the only time I really get to have fudge, so I really like to indulge in it. To this, we're going to add about a half a stick of butter. And that's just going to go right on top. I like to use room temperature butter for this, so it's already kind of soft. And then we're just going to pop this into the microwave. Set my microwave for about a minute. We're going to heat it at different intervals, and then we're going to stir as we go so everything is nice and evenly incorporated. Okay, I'm just going to give this a rough stir. You don't want the chocolate to seize up in the microwave, so we're going to temper it slowly by just heating it in small intervals. And I'm just going to put it in for another minute. Alright. I'm just going to give this another stir. Make sure that everything is nice and evenly incorporated. That is looking good, you guys. I've got just a couple more things here I'm going to add to take this fudge to the next level. Some vanilla, about a teaspoon, and a pinch of salt. And that's just going to really enhance those chocolatey flavors. And then I'm just going to stir that in. And you'll notice the chocolate, it's going to be kind of thick. It's going to have almost like a brownie batter-like consistency. Alright, that's looking good. And I've just got a 9x9 baking dish here. So I'm just going to take this and slide that into this pan here. Make sure we get all of that out of here. I'm going to leave any of this goodness behind. So good. Okay. And then I'm just going to smooth this out so it's nice and a nice even layer all around. I'm just going to stick this in the fridge until it's chilled, and we will move on to our next dish. Alright guys, it is brittle time. I'm doing an interesting take on the classic brittle with a cashew brittle. And I've just got some cashews here that I have been roasting in the oven. They look so good. So good, you guys. Nice and hot and toasty. And toasting the nuts is going to add a nice depth of flavor to the nuts. And these are just slivered cashews. You can use any kind of nut you want for this recipe. I think the cashews give it something a little different. And this is a really simple brittle recipe, you guys. I know a lot of times brittle, it's like the baking soda and it has to reach a certain temperature and you have to, all that mess. So this is really easy. 3 ingredient, well 4 if you count the cashews. But it's just a stick of butter. And I like to use my wok skillet for this because it has the high side, so I don't have to worry about making a mess. And I'm just going to throw that right in. And then to that, it is just a cup of sugar. So it's 2 cups. And what we're going to do is we're just going to melt this butter and sugar together. And we'll make sure you're stirring it generously to keep it from burning. We're going to add a tablespoon of light corn syrup. Now the light corn syrup, this is what's going to give your brittle that nice sheen and texture to it. I'm just going to pour that right in. And you don't want to add the corn syrup until right at the end when everything's kind of come together. And then we're just going to keep stirring this. You're going to stir it until it comes to a boil. And you'll see like the butter and sugar starts to boil and everything's nice and incorporated and mixed in together. And you can already see it starting to bubble up nicely. You also notice when it's ready, it'll start to turn that kind of caramelly color. So that's another way you can tell that it's ready to go. And all the sugar is going to cook down and this is going to get nice and gooey. Alright, once it's turned that caramel color, we are just going to plop the nuts right in. I'm going to turn this off the heat and we're going to stir in our nuts. Get them nice and incorporated. You just kind of want to fold them in quick. If you turn this off the heat, it's going to start to set, so you got to be quick here. And then we're just going to go back to our pan here. We're going to dump this back out. And then I'm going to kind of going to kind of go through and spread this out. Get a nice alright. I'm just going to come through and kind of spread this out, flatten it out. So we get a nice even layer of the brittle. Alright, and I'm just going to set this aside. We're going to let it cool down. And it's going to set and it's just going to be everybody. So I've got my brittle cooling off and my fudge as well. I'm going to move on to white chocolate bark. Now I'm all about like chocolate around the holidays, any time of year really. And to get started, I've just got a stick of butter here and this double boiler. Now if you're not familiar with the double boiler, basically you get a pan of water below that you want the water to kind of simmer, you don't want it really to boil. And then what it's going to do is the steam comes up and hits the bowl and it gets the bowl nice and warm. And then you can kind of melt things that way. It's a good way to kind of control the temperature and things. And then to that I've just got a container of white chocolate pieces. This is really also too the only time of year you can really find like that baking white chocolate. So I love taking advantage of that. And I'm just going to let this go. See, this is starting to really come together nicely, you guys. The butter and the chocolate melt together and become nice and tempered. And see, if I were to cook this in the pan itself, the chocolate would scorch and it would seize and it just, would not be very good. So this is really the way to go. And you just want to make sure that it all gets incorporated nicely. It kind of melts at a nice low temperature. You just want to let all that chocolate is going to break down and you're going to get a nice smooth velvety texture. Just got some fun goodies here. I've got some cranberries and I've got some pistachios. I thought the red and the green of the cranberries and the pistachios would be a nice festive color to go with this white chocolate, and it's looking amazing, you guys. Now to this, I'm going to add a little vanilla extract, about a teaspoon, just to really bring that flavor home. And what's also nice is the cranberries are going to add a nice tartness to kind of counteract the sweetness of the chocolate. And then the pistachios are going to give you a nice salty note. So once this is good and incorporated, and you'll see it's just very velvety and smooth, then it is ready to go. I'm going to turn that off. And be careful because this bowl is a little warm. But we're going to take this and we're going to pour it out. I've got a sheet pan here that I've lined with parchment paper. And I'm just going to let that do its thing. And then we're just going to take some of our cranberries here, and I just kind of like to spread everything out, sprinkle a little bit of the cranberries on top here. Maybe a few more here. And then we'll take some of the pistachios. And we'll kind of spread those out as well. And this chocolate, once it cools off, it's going to set and it's going to get nice and hard. And then we can cut it into pieces. So, lastly, I'm going to whip up a batch of my velvety white hot chocolate, and then we'll cut into our desserts here, and I'll show you a fun little way I like to present my desserts. So stay tuned. Alright guys, nothing says wintertime like hot chocolate. But I thought I'd do something a little different today here and do a white hot chocolate. So I've just got a container of heavy cream here. to that, I'm going to add a little milk, about a half cup. I'm just going to let that simmer, just a half pack of some white chocolate chips here. Once this gets nice and good and starts to boil a little bit, we'll add our chocolate in and get that nice and stirred in. Now to this, to give a little flavor here, I'm going to do about a teaspoon of vanilla. And I've also got just a little bit of nutmeg here. I love nutmeg in hot chocolate. It gives it a nice nutty flavor. We're just going to do about a quarter teaspoon of that. Give it a nice stir. Nutmeg's kind of strong, so you don't need a lot of it. It's already starting to smell amazing. It's one of my fondest memories growing up. If I ever came in from shoveling the driveway or I was out playing in the snow with my friends, Mother would always have a nice cup of hot cocoa waiting for me. And you know, cocoa's just one of those things that warms you up. It gives you those good feelings. And you know, I thought, why not try white chocolate? Let's do something different. Let's kind of shake it up. I like to shake things up in the kitchen. I like to try new things. I like to flip recipes. And so we're just going to let this steep. I've got the chocolate in here. It's melting good and it's going to be so delicious. Alright guys, while I'm waiting for that to steep, I'm going to go ahead and cut into this fudge here. It is cooled and it is nice and set. I'm just going to come in here with my little knife here and I'm just going to cut little squares. Doesn't this just look amazing, guys? I think I'm going to get 5 rows out of this. 5 rows each way. So it'll be 25 pieces. Spoon here and plop one of these guys out. I'm ready to give it a try. This is so delicious. Nice and firm. Oh my gosh, amazing. So good. It's rich. It's got that really nice chocolatey flavor to it. The vanilla and the salt just gives it that little oomph, and it's nice and fudgy and so good. When I'm going to do the fudge and the brittle and the bark, I'm going to bag these up. I have got these fun little baggies here, snowman on it, wintertime, and then what you can do down here is you can write names on it. I love giving these out to family, delivering them around the neighborhood. It's just a really fun little thing to do this time of year. Alright, this is steeping away nicely. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw in my white chocolate. And we'll just give that a little stir. You want to make sure you stir generously around the bottom of the pan and everything because you don't want chocolate thyme. It's smelling amazing. I'm just going to turn that off the heat. And then carefully, I'm just going to take some of this and pour it into my mug here. I've got a fun little Christmas tree mug. I'm just going to get a little taste of this. It's good and hot too, so be careful. Mmm. Oh, yum. Mmm. The cream makes it really rich and luscious, and the white chocolate, you get a lot of sweetness from the white chocolate. Now you could do the same recipe with like a dark chocolate or just a milk chocolate, but I feel like the white chocolate is just something different, you know. Mm. Absolutely good. Okay, next we're going to cut up the brittle and the white chocolate bark, so stay tuned. Okay, folks, our brittle has cooled down. I'm just going to come in here with some clean hands and we're just going to break it into little pieces. See, what's great is it doesn't stick to the pan, so you can pull it right off and you can make it should just break right apart. You can make whatever kind of pieces you like. Sometimes I like to leave big hunks, or sometimes I'll just break it into like little smaller pieces. And that is the brittle. I'm just going to go ahead and give this a little taste. Mmm. 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 Oh yeah. It's sweet, it's very buttery. Just melts in your mouth. You get that sweetness from the sugar. And then the cashews give it a really nice salty note to kind of counteract the sweetness, and a lot of great texture, roasting them, giving you that extra crunch. Just so good, absolutely good. Okay, and time to get out the white chocolate bark. Doesn't this look amazing, guys? Nice and festive. Okay, I'm going to set this guy aside here. Alright, so I'm just going to come in here with my knife and I'm just going to store this. And I'm just going to... Sometimes I like to go at an angle. I like to cut like different pieces. Sometimes I just go straight across and square it. It's really up to you, however you like to do it. And then I'll just come this way and get some nice little squares. Piece off here. Mmm. Mmm. Nice. Mmm. The chocolate's good and sweet. Buttery. Just melts in your mouth. But then you get a nice burst of tart fruitiness from the cranberry. And then you get a good texture from the pistachios that gives a kind of nice salty, nutty flavor. So it's a good balance of flavor here. Then I'm just going to finish cutting up my bark. And then we're going to... I'm going to show you some fun little ways to serve this up. So I've got a bag here. And I like to just make a little assembly line. And what I do is I'll take these bags and I'll write everybody's little name on it. I like to, I pass them out around the neighborhood. I take them to like family Christmas. I take them into work. Different things like that. And I'll just take a couple pieces of each thing. I've got some of the brittle here, a couple pieces of the brittle. And then we'll spoon out some of our fudge here. a couple pieces of the fudge. And I'll come in and I'll get some of this brittle, or I'll come in and get some of this the bark. Couple pieces of that. And then you just seal it up, and you've got a nice little treat. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that up, but I thank you guys for visiting me in the kitchen. And until next time, this is the Sartorial Chef signing off.
Wishing you a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays from the Sartorial Kitchen.